immediately. He grinned. "Baby, come give a jerk a hug." Serena's face lit up, and with a single bound, she leaped forward. "Your baby is here." She landed squarely in Cole's arms. Cole scooped her up, his hands supporting her pert bottom, and carried her toward the fire escape door at the end of the hall. Why there? It was safe and quiet behind the fire door. Serena swung her legs happily, rubbing her cheek against the jerk's neck, humming and cooing in contentment. The pressure she'd felt for the past 2 days evaporated in an instant. Serena didn't lower her voice at all. Not only did room 1521 hear her, but 1520 did as well. Everyone's expression was strange. "Baby, whoa, they're really playing around. But it's so sweet." Wyatt put a finger to his lips and let out a long show. Everyone understood immediately. If you want good bonuses and benefits, you have to be considerate of the boss. Is it strange for the head of legal to be cooing at the CEO? Not all. Okay, we didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. Nothing happened. The 2 new employees also caught on quickly, instantly transforming into considerate old-timers. Yvonne's eyes were filled with a hint of despair. She felt like trying to win over Cole was going to be a hellishly difficult task. She tried to simulate it in her mind. "Jerk, your baby is here." Ugh, she couldn't do it. No, it wasn't that she couldn't do it. She just couldn't replicate that flavor. She pouted and mumbled under her breath, "Baby." In the stairwell behind the fire door, it was indeed very quiet. Aside from the cleaning staff, no one ever came here. Serena's legs were wrapped around Cole's waist in a very comfortable position, and she refused to come down. Cole supported her, letting her rest. "How are you feeling about the Law Society?" Serena had told him about joining via Facebook message earlier. Cole thought it was fine. Student clubs were a part of the university experience. Joining or not joining was up to her. Since starting her freshman year, Serena hadn't shown any interest in clubs, focusing solely on her studies so she could become his legal counsel faster. This made Cole feel both happy and a little guilty. "Not so good," Serena murmured, shaking her head with a pained look. She buried her nose in his neck and took a deep sniff, letting out a contented sound. "It's okay. If you really don't like it, we'll just quit," Cole said, kissing the top of her head. There was no greasy smell, just a sweet fragrance. "I'm just doing it to appease my mom and Professor Chun, so they don't lose face," Serena said, her voice laced with resignation. No matter how much she disliked it, she had to put on a show. It was to protect the person holding her. If she refused too decisively, her mother's sharp mind would immediately figure out the reason. It was better to avoid unnecessary trouble, to trade a little bit of annoyance for future happiness. "My poor baby, you're working so hard," Cole said, kissing her forehead with a pang of sympathy. "It's no trouble at all." "Ah, you big jerk, your hand." Serena had just replied happily when she let out a cry of protest, a blush rapidly spreading across her face. "What's wrong?" Cole asked innocently. "You, who am I?" "I'm not saying. I want to hear my baby say it. MMPH. Say my name." After a few seconds of silence, Serena's lips were pressed against Cole's ear again, whispering something in a tiny voice. After she finished, she buried her face in his neck, embarrassed, and kicked her legs. "MMPH, you're so bad. You always make me call you that." A fire ignited inside Cole. He lowered his head and captured her soft, fragrant lips. The small hands around his neck tightened. The kiss lasted for an eternity. The most agonizing part of all this was the wait for Jason Price and the bored sophomore girl downstairs. "Where is she?" Did Serena say which company she was going upstairs? Jason asked. "She didn't. I thought she was just going to the restroom up there," the sophomore said, shrugging with a look of innocence. She turned her head and raised an eyebrow. It's normal for a girl to take a long time in the restroom. Sigh. Serena's sense of time is a bit lacking. She needs to work on that. Jason sighed, wondering how to bring it up with her. He suddenly remembered he had added her on Facebook and took out his phone to send a message. "Serena, are you done upstairs?" He waited a while longer, but there was still no reply. What's she doing? He wanted to go look for her, but the upstairs area was huge. There was no way to find her. Sigh, this Serena. I'll have to have a serious talk with her. Jason was getting incredibly frustrated when his eyes suddenly lit up. A tall, stunningly beautiful, and coolly aloof woman was walking past in the distance, heading toward the Venture Lab building. Wow, which department at Eastwood has a girl that beautiful? She's on the same level as Serena, but a completely different style. Jason's eyes nearly popped out of his head. The sophomore girl watched his lecherous expression and rolled her eyes. When Yvonne saw Jasmine, director of finance, walk in, her eyes froze. Cole is in danger. Jasmine was here to handle the onboarding for 2 new employees, signing their employment contracts. Yvonne knew about it, but she hadn't been given a specific time, and she had to arrive now of all times. The worst part was at this very moment, a certain shameless CEO was still not finished with his business. What on earth are they doing that's taking so long? Where's Cole? Is he in the conference room? Jasmine asked when she didn't see him. The employees in the office were all buried in their work, heads down, as if they didn't have a second to look up. A life-or-death situation like this was best left to the smart and capable promotions director, Yvonne Wong. Wyatt, the most senior employee, had his face practically glued to his monitor, looking like he was intensely searching for a bug. He looked extremely dedicated. Cole was just talking with Mr. Summers from the Hot Pot restaurant. I'm not sure where they went after that, Yvonne said, reluctantly taking on the heavy burden. Oh, all right. Fiona, can I borrow your desk for a minute? Jasmine said to the head of the editorial department. Of course, Director Young, Fiona said, standing up with a sense of dread and giving Yvonne a meaningful look. Thanks, Fiona. Jasmine sat down and took out the contracts and other documents from her folder. That thanks, Fiona, filled Fiona with a wave of guilt. She wanted nothing more than to immediately report everything to Director Young. Jasmine was usually so kind, never putting on the airs of CEO's confidant. Everyone liked her. But, the legal officer was also very kind. She looked delicate, but she was friendly and respectful to everyone. This was so complicated. Everyone in the office silently cursed. Cole, you're so shameless. This was immediately followed by a sense of deep admiration. Cole wasn't the most handsome guy, nor was he the wealthiest, but somehow he managed to conquer these top-tier campus goddesses. And the key was they were completely willing. It defied all logic. Cole, you're a true legend, the spiritual guide for all men. Director Young, would you like some tea or lemonade? Yvonne needed an excuse to leave. The hot water was next door in 1521. Don't trouble yourself, Yvonne, Jasmine said, not wanting the promotions director to do such a task. It might give the impression that she was bossy. It's no problem. I'm free right now. I'll get you a cup of hot lemonade, Yvonne said, already heading for the door. Seeing this, Jasmine didn't insist. Thank you, Yvonne. Yvonne sighed internally, the weight of her mission heavy on her shoulders. She tiptoed to the door of 1521, then crept toward the fire door. She pushed it open and saw them. Oh my God, what a strange position. They're kissing so passionately. How long have they been at this? This is so bold. It's not like no one ever comes here. Ahem. Cole. Yvonne coughed lightly and called out in a small voice. The two finally broke apart. They hadn't been kissing the entire time, just chatting for a bit before their lips accidentally stuck together again. Serena buried her face, unable to look at anyone, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. This is so awkward. Someone from the company saw us. What do I do? Cole, the thick-skinned, remained unfazed, not even changing his posture of holding Serena. Oh, Yvonne, what's up? Oh, Yvonne, what's up? The elevator on the 15th floor is broken and waiting for repairs. You'll have to take the 14th floor elevator when you go down, Yvonne said, nudging her head toward the stairs and winking, trying to form the words Director Young is here with her mouth. But Cole didn't get it, looking completely bewildered. He knew something was up, though. Seeing how dense her boss was, Yvonne's mind raced. She added in a low voice, the stadium bathroom. Cole's eyes shot open. Jasmine is here. He quickly said, Oh, I know. I'll just take the stairs down from here. Yvonne nodded silently, gently closing the fire door and tiptoeing back to 1521 to make a cup of hot lemonade. In the stairwell. Oh no, I forgot. Someone is waiting for me downstairs. Serena finally remembered that the people from the activities department were probably still waiting. All right, we can't keep them waiting. Let's go. I'll walk you down, Cole said, taking the opportunity to make his escape. He immediately started heading for the 14th floor. Cole, let me down, Serena said, squeezing his waist to put the brakes on. All right. Cole, still rattled, had forgotten she was hanging on him. He set the blushing Serena down on her feet. They made it to the 14th floor elevator without incident and went downstairs. Jason Price, who had been waiting anxiously, saw Serena immediately. He walked up to her, a hint of resentment in his eyes, but he forced a generous smile. Serena, you're finally down? We've been waiting here for you. Oh, I'm sorry, Director Price. I had something important to take care of upstairs, Serena said, looking slightly apologetic. She really had forgotten. It was all that person's fault, kissing her until her head was spinning. I'm heading back up, Cole said. Now that he was downstairs, he felt safe. Even if he was seen now, it wouldn't matter. Okay, Serena said, turning to look at him, her eyes filled with a deep reluctance to part. She wished he could come with her to the editorial committee meeting. Serena, who is this? Jason asked, a sour taste in his mouth. Anyone could see that Serena's attitude toward this guy was anything but ordinary. That look in her eyes, it was practically electric. Could it be? This is my classmate from middle and high school. My good friend, Serena said, not specifying further. A good friend you can kiss, she added silently. As long as she didn't say it out loud. Even if it got back to Professor Chun, there would be no proof. But she was a little worried Cole would be offended and gave him an apologetic look. Cole winked at her. That's right, good friend. And you have to tutor me tonight. Okay, I remember, Serena replied with a straight face, but her cheeks were burning. They had agreed she would tutor him tonight. In the end, the tutoring would probably end up happening under the covers. But she was so looking forward to it. She knew Cole didn't mind, and as she relaxed, her heart started to beat a little faster. She gave him a sweet, syrupy look. Jason, who had been watching closely, saw everything. Even an idiot could understand what was going on. There was definitely something between these two. But why? What right does a not-so-outstanding guy like him have to win Serena's heart? Does he even deserve her? Could it be that Serena is naive and has been deceived by someone? Yes, that must be it. The acidity and resentment in his heart prompted Jason to look at Cole and let out a dry, humorless laugh. Hey, classmate, are you working part-time here? Huh? Are you talking to me? Cole paused, halting his steps. This senior from the Law Society, judging by his eyes, seemed to have a problem with him. Yes, you. Jason's tone hardened, tinged with a strange, unprovoked hostility. The words made Serena's face turn cold. She shot a sideways glance at Director Price. Some people really need to mind their own business and figure out their place. Yes, I'm just working part-time here, Cole said, a faint smile playing on his lips. He was a master at reading people. He knew exactly what was going on. But this senior, or whatever he was, must have a screw loose. At that moment, on the balcony of the 15th floor, a pair of beautiful eyes was quietly watching the scene unfold below. Jasmine had just stepped outside and saw it all. So, he was downstairs meeting his future legal counsel. Jasmine didn't see anything wrong with it. A meeting like this, especially with others present, was perfectly normal. Still, a faint, unsettling premonition pricked at her. She couldn't quite make out their quiet conversation from her office window. Yvonne, who had followed her back to the office, let out a silent sigh of relief. As long as she hadn't caught them in the act, everything was probably fine. Though she'd never witnessed anything physical between Cole and Jasmine, a woman's intuition was a powerful thing. The bond between her boss and Director Yang went far beyond that of a simple boss and his non-related big sister. And then there was the head of finance, too. Sai. Her own plan to be the early bird that gets the worm seemed, well, it seemed pretty damn difficult. After another moment, Jasmine turned from the window and walked back into her office. She'd just wait for that jerk to come upstairs. Downstairs, Jason Price was practically choking on jealousy. He puffed out his chest, adopting the condescending air of a student government big shot. There are some decent companies in the venture lab, he said, looking down his nose at Cole. Keep working hard, kid, and you might have a future. By the way, which company are you interning for? I might know someone there. I could put in a good word, maybe get you a better opportunity. As he spoke, he flicked his eyes toward Serena, but her expression remained unchanged. She probably doesn't even realize the status that comes with being the head of the Student Activities Board, he thought, a little disappointed. The senior from the Law Society, standing with him, turned her head, feigning a look at the scenery, and sighed without a sound. He's a good-looking guy, so why is he so possessed by his own demons? She thought, exasperated. You're an outsider, jealous of the actual boyfriend? What is wrong with you? She felt helpless. Jason was a model student, the kind professors loved. That was the best you could say about him. Serena's expression was cool, and she was about to fire back a retort when Cole spoke first. His eyes were calm, a slight smile playing on his lips. Sure, that'd be great. I'm with. Before he could finish, a series of bright, cheerful voices cut through the air. Mr. Chun, Mr. Chun, Mr. Chun. Amy and a few other girls were walking toward them, their eyes filled with genuine warmth and gratitude. Amy, a Memphis native, had landed the ad campaign for Ms. Potter's Memphis-style hot pot, and her pay was double what she'd made on her last gig. For just a few shots, it was almost too easy. The other girls had all gotten their own ad deals, too, a few of which were group shoots. It was easy money for little work, a respectable way to showcase their beauty and build their resumes without any of the shady casting couch nonsense. They all knew campus beauties at other schools who ended up relying on guys with fancy cars, only to be tossed aside later. Mr. Chun, we're all wrapped up, Amy said, carefully hiding the spark of admiration in her eyes. Even though he was younger, in her mind, Cole was more mature and worthy of respect than most of the older guys she knew. She no longer needed money from her family. In fact, she could even send some home. Great. Head on up to the conference room and relax for a bit. Whitney will arrange dinner later, and we can all celebrate together, Cole said with a nod. He appreciated these models. They hadn't become jaded yet and were a bargain to work with. He had some ideas for Amy. He was planning to launch a short-form web series project next year and thought she'd be perfect for the lead role. As long as she didn't get a better offer before then, he could probably secure her. After that, who knew? People were always aiming higher. Okay, Mr. Chun, call me for the next one. Amy flashed a sweet smile. She was familiar with the office dynamics, so after a quick, knowing glance at the stunningly beautiful girl beside Cole, she led the other models upstairs. Beside Cole, Serena maintained a serene smile, the picture of a quiet princess. She watched gracefully as the upperclassmen showed such respect for Cole. And her Cole, she noted with satisfaction, kept his gaze steady, not letting it wander. Everything was perfectly under her control. It made her so happy. Jason Price stood frozen, his mind momentarily scrambled by the parade of beauties. While none of them were quite on Serena's level, each had her own unique charm. Once the girls were gone, his attention snapped back to Serena, and the sour taste of jealousy returned with it. But the condescending attitude he'd worn just moments ago was impossible to muster. Mr. Chun? Jason had no idea which company that was, but he was certain of one thing. This guy wasn't just some part-time intern. Still, so what? Compared to his own bright future, this kid was just a firefly. The proper path was to become a respected public servant like he would, and eventually hold a position of real power. He pretended to have forgotten their earlier conversation, putting on a formal air. Serena, it's getting late. We should head over to the law review committee. Huh, call yourself whatever mister you want, he thought, savoring a small, mental victory. Serena still has to listen to me. But Serena just glanced at the 4 o'clock sky and smiled. You're right, it is getting late, Jason. I'll just go by myself tomorrow, or maybe the senior can take me. I have to go see Professor Chun in a bit. She casually dropped the name of the associate dean, Professor Chun. Having been around this world for a while, she knew exactly how to shut people down, especially certain personality types. She was willing to bet this Jason character wasn't going to get very far in life. It won't take long, Serena. The office is right next door. We might as well go now, Jason insisted, his expression tightening. His composure was starting to crack. Cole's face hardened. He stepped forward, his voice rising as he fixed his gaze on the stubborn upperclassman. Is there some law society rule that says she has to go right now? I'd be happy to go ask the society's board if this is some mandatory regulation. Is the Law Society a student club at Eastwood, or is it a Dam Street gang? He couldn't believe this guy. With a mindset like this, if he ever got into a position of authority, could you really expect him to serve the community? Getting creepy ideas just because he saw a pretty girl. What kind of leader would he be? Well, no, there isn't, Jason stammered, his face turning an ugly shade. He was furious, but a sliver of clarity broke through. He quickly changed his tune. Then let's do it another day. It's no rush. I just figured since we were already here, we could pop over for a quick tour. He forced a couple of awkward laughs. Though he was seething, he didn't dare say another word, suddenly remembering that Serena had been personally recommended by Professor Chun. He mumbled a hasty goodbye and scurried away. The senior woman didn't follow him, apparently planning to wait for Serena. Cole turned to Serena, his voice softening. Go back to your dorm and wait for me. I'll come pick you up in a bit. Okay, Serena replied, her eyes brimming with a smile. She needed to go back and take a shower, get herself smelling wonderful, and change her underwear. After the campus beauty had gone, Cole headed upstairs. As he stepped out of the elevator on the 15th floor, he saw Jasmine standing at the door of the small conference room, her expression perfectly calm. A thief's guilt pricked at him, and a wave of anxiety washed over him. Come here, Jasmine said, a faint smile on her lips. She raised her right hand and beckoned him over before turning toward the fire escape door. Cole's heart skipped a beat. Her timing is too perfect. Does she know? He obediently followed her. In the stairwell, Jasmine stood with her arms crossed, her body ramrod straight. A pair of light blue skinny jeans stretched taut over her long, perfectly rounded legs. Her expression was mild, but it seemed to hide a hint of murderous intent. Hey sis, why aren't you sitting in the office? Cole asked, trying to change the subject. His guilty eyes were inexorably drawn to those legs. At such a perilous moment, all he could think about was the black stockings from that one night. Get over here, Jasmine commanded, gesturing to the spot in front of her. Cole braced himself, and walked over, stopping a foot away from her. He had no idea if Serena's scent was still on him. He certainly couldn't smell it himself. The next moment, Jasmine leaned in, her face close to his chest, and started sniffing. She took one deliberate inhale after another. Cole's scalp tingled. "Sister, how are you so damn smart?" He thought desperately. "I hope I don't smell like Serena. Wait, I should be fine. She doesn't wear perfume." Jasmine's expression didn't change as she moved from his chest to his neck, sniffing the left side, then the right. Then she moved toward his mouth. Cole couldn't take it anymore. He leaned in and planted a quick kiss on her fragrant, red lips, tasting a hint of lip gloss. Smack! A light slap landed on his mouth. "Behave. Stand still," Jasmine ordered, glaring at him. "Okay," Cole mumbled, looking aggrieved. His Jasmine wasn't being very nice to him today. After sniffing around his neck and ears, she commanded, "Open your mouth." "Oh," Cole said, obediently opening wide. Sister, this is a seriously intense interrogation." To his astonishment, Jasmine actually leaned in and sniffed at his mouth, and she did it with intense concentration. Seeing that he was about to lean in for another kiss, she shot him a warning glare and pointed an index finger at him. He froze. "Did you drink milk?" "I thought you didn't like milk," she said after a moment, her elegant brows furrowing slightly. "No milk, sis. I was hungry earlier and saw a cream saver on someone's desk, so I ate it," Cole said, his heart pounding, but his face was a mask of innocence. "Really?" Jasmine tilted her head, her expressive eyes filled with suspicion. She sniffed again. Her beautiful lips were inches away, and Cole swallowed hard, a rush of heat flooding his mind. He reached out, cupped the back of her neck, and pulled her in for a real kiss. "MMPH. I still have to say, MMPH. Jasmine struggled slightly, but couldn't break free. "We'll talk later," Cole managed to say before pressing his lips to hers again. "MMPH. We need MMPH to talk now." Jasmine protested, patting his shoulder, but there was no way Cole was going to let Sherlock Holmes Jasmine continue her investigation. He greedily claimed her fragrant mouth. "Ow!" Cole's eyes went wide. Jasmine was glaring at him. A clear "try that again, and I'll bite you" look on her face. Cole just blinked, his arms holding her tight, refusing to back down. They remained in a standoff. After a moment, seeing his refusal to yield, the anger in Jasmine's eyes melted into a frustrated, helpless softness. She was genuinely angry, but she couldn't bring herself to punish him too harshly. She loved this little brother too much. When Cole was soft, she softened. When Cole was stubborn, she softened too. She quickly melted into the greedy kiss. She felt her body go light as he scooped her up by the back of her knees. Jasmine immediately struggled, her voice turning into an urgent plea. "Cole, this is the office. It's not right." To keep her balance, she had no choice but to wrap her arms around his neck. "I don't care." Cole took a few quick steps and pressed her against the wall, lowering his head to capture the mouth that so intoxicated him. "MMM. Cole. MMM. Someone will see. MMM. It's not right." Jasmine beat at him, then tugged hard on his ear and cheek. But it was no use. She grabbed his hair, but even messing it up into a bird's nest didn't stop him. Finally, her hands seemed to tire, and she simply held his head, her arms limp. The quiet stairwell filled with the sound of rapid, breathless kissing. Cole kissed her with relish, feeling a surge of triumph. Jasmine's indulgence was his greatest weapon. He couldn't let her continue her investigation. She'd even smelled the milky scent. What kind of nose did she have? But even in his triumph, Cole felt a little shameless. He had just feasted on a milk-flavored little mouth, and now he was ravenously feasting on a fresh, fragrant one. It wasn't his fault, though. They were both just too tempting. Once you had a taste, you could never forget it. Especially Jasmine, who was traditional and reserved, yet so unique. In public, she was poised, elegant, even cold and bossy. Only when they were alone did she show him her other side. Like that night in bed, when she would strike a seductive pose, nibbling his ear and asking, "Do you like this?" That completely different charm was what had him so utterly hooked. Just as they were lost in their own world, the fire escape door creaked open. "Mr. Chun, that thing about..." Yvonne's voice trailed off. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't see anything." The door slammed shut. Their lips finally parted. "See what you did? See? Now what? What is everyone in the company going to think?" Jasmine, flushed with shame and anger, viciously pinched the flesh at Cole's waist, twisting it in a full circle. "Ow, that hurts," Cole yelped, wincing. "Now you feel the pain? Where was that 5 minutes ago? You were like a maniac. Put me down." Jasmine snapped, twisting harder, completely ignoring her own passionate response moments earlier. Though he was reluctant, Cole had no choice but to set her down, a flicker of resentment for Yvonne crossing his mind. Did she have to interrupt at such a crucial moment? Did she not want her bonus anymore? Jasmine smoothed out her down jacket and retied her messy bun. Just then, she remembered the scent, but it was too late. The air was now a heady mix of Cole's masculine scent and her own. She was even starting to doubt if she had smelled the milky scent at all. She glared at him, only to find the jerk still staring at her with lust in his eyes. She punched him playfully. "What are you looking at? Stop looking. You're so annoying. How am I supposed to walk back into the office now?" Even as she said it, a tiny sliver of satisfaction bloomed in her heart. "With your eyes, of course," Cole chuckled. His sister Jasmine was just intoxicating, and she made his heart itch. Back in the office, Yvonne let out a long sigh. She really did have business to discuss, but she couldn't deny a part of her wanted to peek behind the curtain. She already knew so many secrets. What was one more little detail? And the result? Well, now she knew. This one had an extraordinary status, too. They even kissed the same way, though the other girl hadn't been pinned against a wall. Sigh. Her plan to be the early bird was probably dead in the water. As Yvonne's mind was racing, she saw her boss and Director Young walk back into the office, looking for all the world like nothing had happened. Jasmine returned to her work, while her boss idled about with nothing to do. As soon as she finished her tasks, Jasmine fled, though she did permit him to walk her out. Otherwise, she was afraid the little devil would try to lure her back into the stairwell. The look in his eyes was like a wolf's, ready to devour her. She resolved not to be so indulgent with him. She had to get back to campus and study for her grad school entrance exams. After dropping Jasmine off at Eastwood Tech, Cole immediately caught a cab to the Golden Bay residences. He grinned to himself. Time to swap the bedding for Serena's version. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. After all, he even did a thorough check with some clear tape. It seemed his three goddesses didn't shed. As evening approached, the temperature dropped sharply, and a light snow began to fall. Just as Cole reached the women's dorm at the law school, he saw Serena standing downstairs, her hands in her pockets, a plastic bag full of books looped over her arm. Her cool expression instantly melted into a brilliant smile, and she trotted happily toward him. Cole touched her hand. It was still warm. She seemed full of energy. He pulled the hood of her down jacket over her head and took the bag from her. They held hands, tucking them into his coat pocket, and walked toward the dining hall, ignoring the gazes of the other girls. It was too cold to trek over to the food truck strip. The snowflakes seemed to be getting bigger, dusting their hair and shoulders. "Cole, yeah, we're walking in the first snow together. We are. I guess that means we're destined to grow old together." "Cole, yeah." Looking at her sweet, innocent face, Cole, who was never one for sappy romance, decided to play along for once. He'd never been this way, not even when he was a desperate simp in his past life. But for her, he was a willing simp. They sat down in the dining hall and, unsurprisingly, drew a lot of attention. The flower of the law school was well known, but almost no one recognized or remembered the ordinary-looking guy with her. It wasn't strange. In the future, with the internet, it would be different, but back then, if a tech billionaire walked past you, you wouldn't have a clue. Everyone knew of Headline Today, but few knew what its founder looked like. Even though he'd spoken at the dance competition, people forgot his face in a matter of days. If someone brought it up, they couldn't place him, but mention any celebrity, and an image would instantly pop into their heads. Cole took off Serena's hood again, brushing away the fine snowflakes. He got their food, and they sat feeding each other, "One bite for you, one bite for me." Across the room, someone watched them, his mood turning foul. Jason Price happened to be eating in the same dining hall. People are strange. Sometimes, a situation that has nothing to do with you can breed jealousy and resentment just because of a faint connection. Jason knew he had no claim here, but the thought of someone else hitting the jackpot that should have been his left a bitter taste in his mouth. He wouldn't dare pull any shady tricks, but in the dark corners of his mind, he hoped they'd break up one day. "I'm so much better than him," he thought. "With a little effort, maybe I could swoop in." No wonder that guy has an office in the venture lab. Jason sneered internally. He must be riding Serena's coattails. If it were me, I could do so much better. He had been stealing glances at them, but when he saw them sharing a single fork, he lost his appetite. He shoveled down the last of his food and stood up, fuming. As he left, he deliberately walked past the front of their table, imagining how he would display his charming, friendly demeanor if Serena greeted him. But she didn't even look up. An invisible clown mask snapped onto Jason's face. He let go of the suave persona he'd been preparing and hurried out of the dining hall in a state of humiliation. The faster, the better. The farther, the better. The meal left them feeling warm and cozy. Cole took Serena's hand, and they walked through the falling snow toward the Golden Bay residences. It was time for her English tutoring session. Worried she might be cold, Cole even prepared a basin of hot water for her to soak her feet until they were toasty. Only then did they crawl into bed to begin their lesson. After a little while, the textbook was tossed onto the nightstand. Serena knew danger was approaching and burrowed deep under the covers in embarrassment. It was of course futile. The prize piglet was surrendered. Cole expanded on the contents of his original love letter, taking their relationship to a new level on this snowy winter night. The room, which should have been quiet, was filled with a sound like soft weeping, which would periodically rise to a passionate crescendo. The next morning, Cole woke up with faint dark circles under his eyes. He glanced at the girl in his arms. Her face was flushed, and her eyelashes fluttered twice. She was pretending to be asleep. Cole grinned and extended his devilish hand. You devil, you're at it again." Serena couldn't pretend any longer, squirming deeper into his embrace. The thief chuckled. They wrestled playfully in bed for a while before settling down. "Cole, yeah, you ate my prize piglet. It was delicious. You're so bad. I want more next time." No way. Yes or no? PH. Yes, but you have to be gentle. Like this. Cole. Sweet moments always flew by. After breakfast, Cole walked a starry-eyed and reluctant Serena back to her dorm. As for the English lesson, they hadn't gotten through a single word. Cole gave up. If he failed, he failed. It couldn't be helped. He would, however, have to start taking his classes more seriously next semester. Some of the economics and finance concepts were important, and the lectures from Eastwood's professors were top-notch. At 2:30 in the afternoon, Cole the simp went by himself to the gallery. He wandered through the women's clothing stores on the second and third floors, finally selecting 3 cashmere scarves that cost over $250 in total. One was camel-colored, elegant and serene, for his sister Jasmine. One was pink, romantic and sweet, for the campus beauty Serena. And one was pure white, simple and shy, for the little girl Luna. Though the 3 colors couldn't represent the entirety of their personalities, Cole felt they were the most fitting choices. He sent Jasmine a message. "Sis, I need to swing by Eastwood Tech for something. Are you free?" Jasmine replied quickly. "Don't come here. I'm at the old tea alchemist shop, signing contracts with the new hires." Cole suddenly remembered they'd hired 2 new people. "Okay, sis. I'm on my way." He glanced at the time. Luna was probably in class. And Jasmine, in such a public place, wouldn't dare pinch him in front of the employees. As long as he called her sis, the other staff wouldn't think anything of it. He was safe. Cole looked down at the 3 shopping bags in his hand. This was a problem. A plan sparked in his mind. He ran into a men's clothing store, bought himself a set of thermal underwear, and asked for a large paper bag. He took the thermals out and placed them on top of the scarf boxes. Perfect. After leaving the gallery, Cole hailed a cab and headed straight for the tea alchemist. In the car, he took out the camel scarf meant for Jasmine. When he arrived, he got out and eagerly walked toward the shop. The moment he stepped through the door, his eyes fell on the 3 people sitting at the round table in the back. His entire body went rigid. Oh God. Oh, holy hell. At the round table, 3 heads were huddled together, whispering about something. Cole's scalp tingled, a chill ran down his spine, and every muscle in his body froze. The 1 second it took for his eyes to register the 3 graceful figures felt like an eternity. A wave of impending doom washed over him, snapping him out of his shock. Before any of them could look up, Cole spun around and started to walk out. "Mr. Chun, why are you leaving?" When he called out curiously. "Damn it," Cole's steps faltered. He shot Wendy a look that screamed, "Your bonus is gone." When he felt a shiver of unease. "What's with him? When did I piss him off? I was just being nice." "Forget him, then." She turned her head, pretending her boss didn't exist. Her shout, however, had alerted the 3 goddesses. They all looked toward the door. Where was he? Outside? Cole took a deep breath. It had come to this. He had to take a gamble. A real man faces his problems head-on. He quickly shoved Jasmine's gift back into the paper bag and plastered a warm, friendly smile on his face. Looking perfectly calm, though his heart was hammering against his ribs, he walked back into the shop. I just dropped $1. Had to go back and pick it up," he said cheerfully to Wendy, his eyes flashing a clear threat. "You idiot. Wendy, shut up. Can't you read the room? I'm going to have you shadow Yvonne from now on and learn a thing or 2. Wendy was still annoyed and completely ignored her boss's warning glare. From a back, Jasmine called out, "Hurry up and come in. We're just going over the contracts." "Coming, sis. I didn't realize you were all here." "This is perfect," Cole said, forcing himself to walk over, a look of feigned delight on his face. Luna's eyes were filled with deep affection, and she showed no other unusual reaction. Serena snuck a peek at the greedy Cole before pretending to focus on the contract in front of her, her face turning a bright shade of red. After all, her prize piglet had just been eaten by him last night. She was still in a state of shyness. Jasmine glanced at her little brother, and the memory of being caught by Yvonne in the stairwell brought a faint blush to her own cheeks. She quickly composed herself, adopting a thoroughly professional demeanor. "Cole, what's up?" she asked. "Oh, it's like this. Since it's snowing, I decided to give every employee in the company a scarf as a little perk," Cole explained, his face a perfect mask of a caring boss, his tone full of corporate concern for his employees. "And I decided to deliver them personally to the management team. I had no idea you three would be together. This is really great." Their reactions put him somewhat at ease, but his heart was still pounding. It didn't affect his performance, though. This was a life-or-death moment, and his acting skills went into overdrive, performing at 10 times the level he'd ever managed in his past life as a salesman. Scarves. Jasmine looked at the paper bag, but she wasn't suspicious. This was exactly the kind of thing her brother would do. She felt a flicker of curiosity about what kind he would buy for her. "Let me see," Serena said, her face alight with anticipation, as was Luna's. They both wanted to see what color Cole had picked for them. "Boss, do I get one too?" When he called from the work area, her previous annoyance completely gone. "Of course. I'll get yours to you later," Cole said with a beaming smile, thinking, "I'll get you one made of nails." He took 3 boxes out of the paper bag. He handed the camel-colored box to Jasmine first. "Director Young, this is for you." Next was Serena. "Director Shun, this is yours." And finally, Luna. "Director In, this is for you. Go ahead and open them. If you don't like them, I can go exchange them," Cole said with a small laugh. He had used their official titles, defining this meeting as strictly business. The order was deliberate. It might have looked random, but he had planned it carefully. Whether in a public or a private capacity, Jasmine had to be first. He met Serena second, so she was second. He met Luna last, so she was third. This order was absolutely critical. It was directly related to his grand plan to become the king of greed. He couldn't mess it up because he knew his sister Jasmine too well. The 3 girls didn't notice anything amiss. It was perfectly normal for Cole to use their titles in a formal setting. At most, Serena and Luna were still getting used to being called director. They each eagerly opened their boxes. "Wow, it's so soft and warm," Serena exclaimed, delighted. She loved pink. It made her feel relaxed. She wanted to shoot a sweet glance at him, but she restrained herself. "Not bad, Cole. How did you know I like this color?" Jasmine unfolded the scarf, looking very pleased. She disliked black, white, and red, preferring grays, khakis, and camel tones. Camel was her favorite. It was versatile and elegant. "Haha, just a lucky guess." Cole laughed, thinking, "I'm a mind reader when it comes to you." "I like it too," Luna said, her eyes curving into happy crescents. She rubbed the pure white scarf. It was so soft, and she could tell just by the touch that it must have been expensive. The thought made her feel a little pained. "I'm glad you all like them. By the way, how did you 3 end up here together today?" Cole asked, feigning casual curiosity. "I was getting them familiar with the contracts and some administrative matters. Legal and finance both need to understand the necessary procedures," Jasmine explained. She draped the scarf around her neck, adjusted it, and then pulled a small mirror from her purse to check her reflection. From her expression, she was quite satisfied. The mirror was then passed to Serena. The pink scarf made her fair skin look even more radiant. Only Luna looked on, holding the scarf in her hands, seemingly reluctant to put it on. "Director In, you should try it on too," Cole said gently, understanding her frugal habits, which made his heart ache a little. "Okay." With a word from Cole, Luna obediently tried it on. The white was a perfect match for her, giving her a delicate, ethereal air. Luna was satisfied, and Cole was both satisfied and proud. His taste was impeccable, but now it was time to leave. He put on a very busy expression. "Well, you all get back to it. I have to hurry back to the office. I've got some things to take care of." "All right, go on then," Jasmine nodded. She gave her brother a deep look, her gaze then sweeping over the other 2. There was an unreadable expression in her eyes, as if she was trying to confirm something, but couldn't find the answer. Serena and Luna smiled softly, waving their hands, their eyes filled with his reflection. "I'm off," Cole said with a wave. He walked out of the shop with steady, long strides. Once he turned the corner, he put a hand on his chest and took a deep, shuddering breath. The heart that had been lodged in his throat finally began to drop. They weren't gossipers by nature, and when they were focused on business, they probably wouldn't talk about personal matters. If one of them had spilled the beans, he would have been dead for sure. He could only pray his luck held out. There was no point in worrying about it. He could only leave it to fate. After calming himself down, Cole hurried back to the mall to pay the price for his quick thinking. On the way, he messaged Yvonne and told her to send a couple of people to pick up the scarves. His original plan was to simp for his three goddesses with a romantic, snowy gesture. He never expected to run into an accidental summit meeting. Now he had to be a simp for his entire staff, spreading warmth and goodwill. It was a true display of universal love. It ended up being a considerable expense, but he could write it off as a company operating cost. Soon, every employee at Headline Today and the Tea Alchemist received a token of their boss's love. Everyone was delighted. Some were already wearing scarves, but the ones from the boss were clearly higher quality. And who would say no to a free gift? Outside, the sky grew heavier, and the light snow turned into a blizzard that lasted for 2 days. Eastwood University was transformed into a blanket of white. Countless students, especially those from the South, reveled in the snow. Cole's hometown of Linden Creek got snow, so he wasn't particularly fazed. He sat calmly in his classroom, listening to the lecture. He had no choice. He had completely given up on English. He'd barely memorized any of the vocabulary. Cramming now would be useless. Computer science, ethics, modern history, and military theory weren't too hard. He could still fight for a passing grade. Calculus was probably a lost cause. His major-specific courses were fine, as they were mostly foundational theory. Sigh. He was on his way to becoming the bottom of the barrel at Eastwood. The founder of Headline Today, a failing student at a top university. It didn't sound great, but it was fine. Steve Jobs had dropped out. Cole compared himself to the giants, shamelessly comforting himself. During this time, Headline Today ran smoothly. Ads for 7 or 8 businesses were already online and receiving positive feedback. Ms. Potter's Hot Pot restaurant, in particular bolstered by the love story angle, had become famous. It was so popular it was rivaling the Caspian Buffet. With his first successful round of sales as a model, Headline Today had fired its first real shot. Some businesses started approaching them directly, including small fashion brands, shoe stores, and even hosiery companies. Stockings, after all, were a high-turnover item, often treated as battle-damaged goods by certain customers with destructive tendencies. Basically, any product a student might use was now on the radar of local business owners. Yvonne's marketing department was running at full steam, dividing and conquering the promotional tasks. She even had the authority to apply for funds and allocate resources. Cole stayed out of it completely, only looking at the results. It was fair to say Yvonne was the most powerful person at Headline Today. But the pressure was immense. The ad planning department was swamped, and the editorial team had to pitch in to write copy and develop concepts, but they were compensated with bigger bonuses. The engineering department continued with maintenance and optimization, while Wyatt and the other 3 co-founders secretly worked on a new mission, the boss's mobile app project. With smartphones becoming more common in 2011, a mobile app was inevitable and would become their main platform. Cole held a small meeting with the 4 of them, laying out the goals for the next 5 years. The engineering department was officially renamed the development department, with Wyatt as its director. The other 3 veterans each led a team, gradually expanding their ranks. The company was running itself, and the summit meeting of the 3 goddesses at the tea shop seemed to have had no negative aftershocks. Everything was calm. This gave Cole the peace of mind and time to actually sit in a classroom. His phone vibrated several times. He snuck a peek and then ignored it. It was an unfamiliar local number. He'd been getting calls from strange numbers for a while now, and Will, the poached employee, had tried to contact him too. He'd hung up and blocked the numbers every time. Private conversations were pointless. If they wanted to compete, they could do it in the marketplace. To the victor go the spoils. He, Cole Chun, was ready to accept the outcome. And so, during the final exams 2 days later, he was defeated. After several days of exams, he became the sage of his dorm room, the one with the most money but the lowest grades. He might even have the lowest grades in all of Eastwood. Fortunately, he barely passed his core finance courses. And fortunately, the university was relatively lenient about freshmen failing classes. However, he could forget about any future honors or selections, student government, party membership, graduate school recommendations, public service appointments. Cole was well aware of this and knew he wasn't cut out for a bureaucratic life anyway. His lot in this life was to rise above the mundane while embracing the simple life. Yes, he was elevating his academic failure to the level of a spiritual pursuit, but it was still embarrassing. All 3 of his goddesses were top students, while he was the king of failing. It was awkward. Ding, 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 ding. His phone buzzed with a series of Facebook Messenger notifications. Cole grabbed it from his bedside table. It was already 10 in the morning. For the first time since starting college, he had slept in. It was a message from Jasmine. Cole, it's okay if you fail the class. You can just retake it. Don't stress yourself out. Serena. Cole, I asked Professor Chin for you, and you can apply for a makeup exam. It's all my fault. I never properly tutored you. Next time, I'm not letting you eat the prize piglet. We're going to study seriously. Luna, brother, it's okay to fail. You've invested your time in other, more important things. We can just study it again. Cole's spirits soared. He felt incredibly encouraged. Look at this. This is what you call women behind a great man. Other guys had one woman behind them, at most. He had three. Who cares about failing a class? Time to rise up. He replied to each of them. As he was getting dressed, Frank returned to the dorm, sporting two huge dark circles under his eyes, looking completely drained. But he had a blissful smile on his face as he kicked off his shoes and dove into bed. Frank, you missed your update for 2 days, Cole reminded him. The guy had been acting like he was in the honeymoon phase all over again, completely neglecting his web novel. I'll make it up tonight, Frank mumbled from under his covers. Cole sighed. He hoped his suspicions were wrong. Maybe everything was fine. After a moment, he asked casually, Hey Frank, how much does an iPhone 4 go for these days? $1,000, Frank replied instantly from under the covers. Cole's brow furrowed. So he'd already bought one, and it was the 32 gigabytes model, which retailed $4.999. The advance Cole had given him, plus his living expenses, was probably all gone. $1,000 in this day and age. Even Cole himself hadn't done that back then. Sigh. You can't interfere in someone's private life. He would have to get through this on his own. The sound of footsteps announced the arrival of Preston, the influencer, and Javi, their hair dusted with snow. They had been out shooting since early morning. Preston's channel had been doing well recently, landing a few small product placement ads from Headline Today. Judging by the snow, they had probably been filming a shot of him shaking a tree. Hey Cole, is Headline Today open during winter break? Preston asked, brushing himself off on the small balcony. Is there a winter break when you're working? Cole replied without looking up from tying his shoes. That sucks, Preston said, once again forgetting his place. Yeah, well, not getting a promotion on the site sucks more, Cole shot back, raising an eyebrow. Boss Chin's dedication is an inspiration. I'm sure you'll lead Headline Today to national success. Preston immediately backed down, remembering who he was talking to. Just as Cole stepped into the hallway, his phone rang. It was Luna. Hey Lou, so, there's this group called the Flashpoint Theater Club, and they invited me to join. They said they have activities during winter break, with rehearsals and a chance to perform in a real theater. A theater club? They're recruiting now. Cole's brow furrowed. They said since there's more time during winter break, it would be easier to get involved, and there are performance opportunities for practice, Luna explained on the other end. Winter break? The Flashpoint Theater Club? An idea began to form in Cole's mind about his own winter break plans. Flashpoint was one of Eastwood's top 10 student organizations, focused on studying and performing plays. It was mostly comprised of non-theater majors and students taking performance as an elective. They're staying on campus for the break. I heard some of them are. Wait for me. I'm coming over. We'll talk in person. Okay. After hanging up, Cole skipped his trip to the office and headed straight for the accounting department's dorms. Nothing urgent was happening at Headline Today. His presence wasn't essential. Downstairs from the accounting dorm, a guy was saying, Luna, joining a club is something most students would kill for. Why do you need to ask for permission? The vice president of Flashpoint, a guy named Mark Zhang, said it with a joking tone. Don't worry. Flashpoint is one of the top 10 university-level clubs at Eastwood. We're the real deal, huh? He assumed Luna was just a naive freshman, afraid of being scammed. Yeah, Luna, the theater club is really hard to get into. They're the ones who do the choosing, added one of Luna's classmates, a girl named Xiaofeng. Brianna and Felicity stood by without saying a word. They knew exactly who Luna was asking for permission. It was the guy who paid their salaries. They didn't know much about Flashpoint, other than it was a big, well-known club. Felicity had joined a psychology club, but they didn't have many activities. Why don't you all go back first? Can I think about it? Luna said tactfully. Her classmate, Xiaofeng, was already in the club and had sprung this on her today, even bringing the vice president along. They just kept talking, refusing to leave. With Xiaofeng also pressuring her, Luna didn't know what to say. To make matters worse, 2 other clubs were waiting to talk to her as well. She'd never been in a situation like this, and quickly called Cole. How about this? If you have any other concerns, you can bring them up, and I'll do my best to answer them. How does that sound? Mark Zhang said with a sincere expression, a glint in his eyes revealing he had no intention of giving up. I don't know how to act, Luna said, shaking her head. She had zero experience with performing. That's perfectly normal. You can learn as you go. None of us knew how at first either, Mark chuckled. He didn't care what her excuse was, as long as she was talking. The thing is, I'm not really interested in theater, Luna said, a hint of desperation in her voice, but she didn't want to be rude. They were inviting her to join their club. It wouldn't be right to lose her temper. Interest can be cultivated. Theater can greatly enrich your university life, allowing you to experience a strong artistic atmosphere and develop a unique artistic temperament. Mark persisted, unwilling to stop until he got what he wanted. During the winter break, the club was hosting an event called A Passion for Theater, and he was in charge. There would be seminars and a performance for the students remaining on campus. He'd been searching for a female lead for his new play, but none of the current members felt right. Then Xiaofeng mentioned Luna, and after seeing a photo, he knew he had found her. He had never imagined Eastwood had a girl this beautiful. She had to be his lead. I also don't have time to learn how to act, really. Luna looked at the vice president, but this time she caught a flash in his eyes, a hungry gaze that quickly scanned her body up and down. She instantly understood what was happening. Her brow furrowed, and a surge of anger shot through her. She tried to keep a low profile, and she still couldn't avoid this. Freshman, you can take acting as an elective. Even if you don't, it's easy to pick up. Acting is just about opening your heart and embracing the spiritual evolution of another dimension of life. Mark continued his prepackaged spiel, rambling on. I was a total novice when I joined the theater club, but I gradually fell in love with it. Stage acting helped me find my true self. Brianna noticed a change in Luna's mood and quickly grabbed her arm. Lou, calm down. Just wait for him to get here. This isn't on you. Yeah, that's right, Lou. Just wait, Felicity added. With her psychology background and female intuition, combined with her awareness of Luna's stunning looks, she had a good idea of what was going on. Did a huge club like Flashpoint really need to recruit so desperately? Unlikely. Even if they genuinely wanted to invite Luna to join, was there truly no other motive? Felicity observed the vice president's micro-expressions and the look in his eyes, and it sent a shiver down her spine. There is a world of difference between being admired and being calculatedly preyed upon. But you couldn't say any of that out loud. There was no proof. The anger that had clouded Luna's vision began to clear. This relentless, soft-gloved pressure, all driven by a hidden agenda, had thrown her peaceful heart into turmoil. She wanted to stab him. Taking a deep breath, she offered the most tolerant response she could muster. Sir, I'm waiting for someone. If he says it's okay, I'll go. Haha, Luna, as a university student living in a free academic environment, your body and soul should both be free, not bound or shackled by anyone. Mark was getting annoyed. Why couldn't she make her own decisions? He was about to continue his persuasion when Brianna cut him off. Sir, why don't we just wait? We can talk about it in a bit, okay? If she didn't interrupt, someone was about to explode. Fine, whatever. We'll wait, Mark said, reining in his impatience. A prestigious club like his having to wait. Ridiculous. A few minutes later, Luna's eyes lit up, and she ran toward an approaching figure, drawing everyone's attention. They all wanted to see who this person was. Well, look at this. Quite a crowd, Cole said with a smile. There were 8 or 9 people downstairs, split into 3 small groups. Yeah, 3 clubs. They all want to recruit me for winter break activities. I don't know what's going on, Luna said, clutching his jacket, a hint of apology in her voice. The moment he arrived, the rage in her heart subsided. After getting the full story, Cole whistled under his breath. Besides the theater club, there was a ballroom dancing club, and most ridiculously, a fitness club. He knew exactly what was going on, but he needed to confirm it. Cole led Luna over to the theater club's vice president, who was craning his neck curiously. Sir, can I see the script? The script? Luna can see it, but you can't, Mark said, his mood souring when he saw that Luna was waiting for a handsome guy, especially after she grabbed his jacket. If he sees it, it's the same as me seeing it. Yes or no. Otherwise we're leaving, Luna said, the light in her eyes turning cold. Fine. I brought it with me anyway. I was going to show it to you, Mark said, forcing himself to swallow his annoyance to achieve his goal. He held out his hand, and Xiaofeng passed him the rolled-up script. Cole took it. It was 4 or 5 pages of neatly handwritten text. The title was Coffee Shop Romance. After a quick scan, he rolled his eyes and asked, a chance encounter in a coffee shop leads to 2 hugs and a kiss in the first scene. Which genius wrote this? If it had been a script with some depth, something about metaphors, witches, justice, or conspiracies, Cole wouldn't have minded Luna participating. It would be a good way to enrich her college experience. But what the hell was this? The whole thing reeked of sleazy intentions. Performance majors didn't typically have a kissing scene class, nor would they be asked to imitate kissing or bed scenes. In some specific contexts, a professor might teach students how to use camera angles to fake it, usually to the laughter of the class. But a student-run club's original work had no such restrictions. As long as you weren't having actual sex on stage, anything went. Cole stared at the vice president, noticing his darting, evasive eyes. In his past life, Cole's own second-rate university had a theater club. One performance had broken up a perfectly happy couple. The kiss was supposed to be faked, but the male lead, the vice president and playwright, went for it for real. The actress struggled, and the scene descended into chaos. Her boyfriend, who was already unhappy about the scene, jumped on stage and a fight broke out. Both were disciplined by the school. The incident drove a wedge between the couple, and they eventually broke up. And the actress, of course, was disgusted by the guy and wanted nothing to do with him. Cole knew human nature all too well. Once people got a taste of power, they tended to lose control and get ideas they shouldn't have, just like all those disgraced officials who had once sworn an oath. Besides, with Luna's looks, it was obvious what was going on. The campus theater club needed to go recruiting for a female lead? What a joke. Of course, not everyone was like that, but there were always a few bad apples. This particular club would go on to produce some talented people years later. Cole smiled, his tone polite. Flashpoint, as one of the top 10 student clubs, has a stellar reputation. To be invited by such a distinguished organization is truly an honor for us. His words stunned everyone. Brianna and Felicity's jaws dropped. A kissing scene, boss. Are you crazy? Luna, however, showed no reaction. She knew better than anyone how possessive the man beside her was. Mark Zhang, the vice president, was also taken aback, not expecting it to be so easy. A smile spread across his face. Freshmen were so easy to handle. Just as he was about to speak, Cole continued. An organization this prestigious is, of course, one we can't possibly hope to associate with. Go find your leading lady wherever you want, just not here. 2 hugs and a kissing scene? Who the hell do you think you are? Don't make me punch you. Cole's voice wasn't loud, but his face was dark. There were plenty of vice presidents. If he had to, he'd file a complaint and get this one removed to make room for someone who actually cared about theater. His outburst made the members of the other 2 waiting clubs chuckle. Everyone knew what was going on. This guy was just too obvious, trying to pass off his sleazy script as art. Only a blind person wouldn't see through it. Excuse me, please show some respect, Mark retorted, his face flushing. I am here, representing Flashpoint, to recruit a new member. It doesn't mean she would definitely be the lead. Acting is a form of artistic expression. Don't you dare use your filthy mind to slander the word art. When your heart is dirty, you see dirt everywhere. Get out! Luna suddenly exploded, her face beat red. Her clear, powerful voice seemed to shatter the air. Her eyes shot daggers at the vice president, staring at him as if he were her mortal enemy. She already disliked him, and hearing about the hugs and the kiss made her skin crawl. But hearing him talk to Cole like that was the last straw. Her shout stunned everyone into silence. Heads popped out of the dorm windows above to see what was happening. You, fine. I came here with good intentions to invite you, but I never expected this kind of attitude. I guess I misjudged you. The doors of Flashpoint will forever be closed to such a rude person. He fumed, turning to storm off, forgetting to even take a script. He knew he was in the wrong and didn't dare escalate the situation. The Student Activities Board wouldn't be so easily fooled. His classmate, Xiaofeng, snatched the papers from Cole's hand, gave Luna a regretful look, and hurried after him. Cole gently patted Luna's back. Don't be angry. Relax. Okay. Luna took a deep breath, and the color began to return to her face. Then she remembered her outburst and looked at Cole anxiously. What, do you think she was crude for screaming like that? But Cole just winked and grinned. That get out was exactly what I wanted to say. You beat me to it. My Lu and I are on the same wavelength. Luna blushed, a small smile playing on her lips as she gazed at him with star-filled eyes. All her worries vanished. Her thoughtful brother always knew how to take care of her feelings. Brianna and Felicity exchanged a look and sighed in unison. They were 2 peas in a pod. Cole led Luna over to the other 2 clubs. Sorry, guys, but Luna has already decided to join just one club. Huh? Luna thought, surprised. Which club? Everyone else was curious too. The Colchin Fan Club. And it's a lifetime membership, Cole announced, beaming. Luna blushed deeply, and her inner world was suddenly filled with sunshine. She couldn't help but slide her hands into Cole's pockets from behind and hug him. What club was that? The 5 people from the other 2 clubs were completely baffled. But they all saw what the goddess was doing with her hands. Before their leaders could even speak, Cole's expression turned serious. I know what you're all thinking. Don't get any ideas. Focus on your clubs, be good people, study hard, and strive for greatness. All right, say no more. We're leaving. Sorry to bother you, the ballroom dancing club said, unable to withstand his lecture, and beat a hasty retreat. Bro, you're the man, said the burly vice president of the fitness club, giving him a thumbs up. He smiled and left as well. They had come for the goddess, but they had seen her attitude. She was like a sealed bomb, completely docile for one person and one person only. There was no point in trying